Electrophoresis is a popular technique used in clinical and research laboratory for the separation of closely related compounds like a mixture of proteins, amino acids, and enzymes. The general principle of electrolytes. This technique is used for the separation of charged particles, biochemical materials such as amino acids, peptides, proteins, nucleic acid possesses ionizing group and hence exists as a charged molecules in the solution, either as a cation or anion, depending upon the pH of the medium used. The non-polar substances such as a carbohydrate can be given charge by derivatization. For example, as a borate or phosphate. These charged particles like cations move towards the cathode, and anions towards the anode in an electric field. So it is obvious that the molecules having a similar charges move in same direction, but there is a difference in movement due to their different molecular weight. Therefore, the difference in charge mass ratio forms the basis for differentiating migration of particles in an applied electric field. This form of general principle of electrophoresis. Force acting in an electrophoresis system, a force of electric field which is impelling forces, frictional forces, the electrostatic forces of attraction between the sample component and the supporting media, which are the retarding forces. Factors affecting electrophoresis. The electric field voltage rate of migration is directly proportional to the voltage applied between the two electrodes. As the voltage increases, the migration may fasten, but very high voltage is also not suggestive current. The rate of migration is proportional to the current. The resistance migration rate of the sample ion decreases when there is increased resistance. The movement of the sample ion in an electric field mainly depends on the charges, sizes, as well as the shape of the sample molecules. The rate of migration increases with the increase in net charge on the component size. The rate of migration decreases when there is increase in size of molecules which is to be separated. The movement of the molecules increases when the size of the molecule decreases. Shape. The molecules of the similar size but different shapes such as fibrous and globular proteins exhibits different migration characteristics because of differential effect of frictional and electrophoretic forces. Buffer. This determines stabilize the pH of the supporting media and hence affects the migration rate of compounds in a number of ways. Composition. The buffer should be such that it does not bind with the compounds to be separated, as this may alter the rate of migration. Therefore, Barbitone buffer is always preferred for the separation of proteins or lipoproteins. Concentration. As the ion strength of the buffer increases, the portion of the current carried by the buffer will increases, and the share of current carried by the sample will decreases, thus showing down the rate of migration. Therefore, the ionic strength of 0.05 m molar is preferred for the separation of protein or lipoprotein in the electric field. The pH. For organic compound, pH determines the extent of ionization and therefore degree and direction of migration or pH dependent. Supporting media. The composition of the supporting media may causes absorption, electroosmotic and molecular sieving, which may influence the rate of migration of the compound. The commonly used supporting media in the laboratory are agarose, polyacrylamide, cellulose acetate medium. Types of electrolysis. Depending upon the nature of a supporting media, the agarose gel electrophoresis, where agarose gel is used as a supporting media. Polyacrylamide gel electrophoresis, the acrylamide and methyl acrylamide forms a polymer in this case. The cellulose acetate electrophoresis. Cellulose acetate membrane serves as a supporting medium. Depending upon the mode of technique, slide gel electrophoresis, tube gel electrophoresis, disc electrophoresis, and low and high voltage electrophoresis. Application. The electrophoresis is useful in separation of serum proteins for diagnostic purposes, hemoglobin separation, lipoprotein separation and identification, isoenzyme separation and the analysis, nucleic acid studies, determination of molecular weight of the proteins. The serum protein separation by agarose gel electrophoresis. Slide preparation. About 0.4 ml of warm agar solution is delivered on the slide uniformly at room temperature and allowed to solidify chambers 20 minutes after before starting the experiment. Both the buffer tank of the electrophoresis chamber are filled with the equal volume of 0.05 molar barbiton buffer pH 8.6 and kept close to saturate the chamber with solvent vapor. Sample applications: small filter paper strip soaked in the serum sample is kept on the side perpendicular to the length of the slide close towards the cathode, and the chamber is closed. Slide projection and wick connections: the side prepared is kept in the chamber and connection connected to the buffer by means of a filter paper strips as shown in the figure. The application of electric field: the electrophoresis chamber is connected to the power pack. The power pack is switched on and the current is adjusted so that the 4 meter ampere current flows through each side. The process has to be carried out for about 90 to 120 minutes. Fixing of protein: the sites are kept immersed in the absolute alcohol for about 20 minutes to prevent the diffusion of separate proteins. Staining: the slides are dried and kept immersed in the amido Swartz 10B dye for about 5 minutes. These staining slides are washed with 3% acetic acid to clear the background and see the protein band clearly. The dry slide can be preserved for a long time since the electrophoretic pattern of the serum protein is, in certain dyes vary markedly from the normal pattern. If it is great diagnostic significance in several conditions like nephrosis, liver disease, multiple myeloma, gamma globin anemia, and other, electrophoretic pattern of the normal serum and the serum sample from the patient are shown. Sodium dodecyl sulfate polyacrylamide gel electrophoresis. It is a technique widely used in biochemistry, forensic, genetics, and molecular biology to separate the protein according to the electrophoretic mobility. The SDS is an anionic detergent applied to the protein sample to linearize the protein and to impart a negative charge to linearize the protein. In most proteins, the binding of SDS to the polypeptide chain imparts an even distribution of charge per unit mass, thereby resulting in fractionation by approximate size during the electrophoresis procedure. Sample preparation: the sample may be any materials containing proteins, for example prokaryotic or eukaryotic cells, tissue, viruses, environmental samples, or purified protein. In the case of solid tissue, these are often first broken down mechanically using the homogenizer sonicator or by using the cycling of high pressure. The cells may also be broken open by one of the above mechanical method. In the case of tissue or cell, a combination of biochemical and mechanical techniques including various type of filtration and centrifuge may be used to separate different cell compartments and organelles prior to electrophoresis. The sample to be analyzed is mixed with SDS and anionic detergents which degenerate the secondary and non-disulfate linked tertiary structures and applied as a negative charge to each protein in proportion to its mass. Heating the sample to at least 60 centigrade further promotes protein denaturation, helping SDS to bind. Mix 50 ml of samples with equal volume of one of the denaturing buffer given below. Heat in boiling water bath for 1 minute. In most cases, brief boiling 1 to 2 minutes improves denaturation, but it may also cause protein precipitation. Preparation of acrylamide gel. The gel typically consists of a acrylamide bisacrylamide, SDS, and a buffer with an adjustment pH. The solution may be degassed under the vacuum to prevent the formation of air bubbles during the polymerization. Alternatively, the butanol may be added to resolving gel after it is poured, as butanol removes bubble and makes the surface smooth. A source of free radicals and stabilizers such as ammonium persulfate and TEMED are added to initiate the polymerization. The polymerization reaction results in gel because of addition of a bisacrylamide, generally about 1 part in 35 relative to acrylamide, which can forms across link between two polyacrylamide molecules. The ratio of acrylamide to acrylamide can be varied from special purposes. The acrylamide concentration of the gel can also be varied, generally in the range from 5 to 25%. Lower percentage gel are better for resolving very high molecular weight proteins, while much higher percentage are needed to resolve smaller proteins. Gels are usually polymerized between the two glass plates in a gel caster with a comb inserted at the top to create a sample well. After the gel is polymerized, the comb can be removed and the gel is ready for electrophoresis. They remove the comb and clamp the gel to the electrophoretic apparatus. Fill the top electrolytic compartment with the running buffer. Check the leak from the top into the bottom compartment. If there are no leak, fill the bottom compartment with a plastic patch paper. Thoroughly rinse each well in a stacking gel with a running buffer. Apply the sample by using a micro pipette to carefully add approximately 25 microliters of protein in DB1 and or DB2 to the bottom of the well. The volume and the protein concentration of the sample should be sufficient to give at least 10 microgram of each protein. If possible, avoid using the end wells. Apply 15 microliters of molecular weight standard to 1 or 2 wells, preferably in asymmetric position to allow the front and back of the gel to identify the latter. Carefully record the content of each well. Replace the cover of the electrophoretic cell with the positive symbol on the cover connected to the positive on the cell, so that the anode positive is bottom electrode. Check the electrical connection of the cell to ensure that a solution is not connected with either banana plug, and connected the anode to the terminal on the point supply and the electrode to the negative terminal. Apply 15 milliampere gel until the protein or well into the stacking gel. Then 35 milliampere gel until the tracking gel reaches the bottom of the gel. About 45 minutes in the system. The tracking dye may be added to the protein solution. This typically has a higher electrophoresis mobility than the protein. Electrophoresis varies. Buffer system are used in SES fudge depending on the nature of the sample and the experimental objectives. The buffer used at anode and cathode may be the same as different. An electric field is applied across the gel, causing the negatively charged protein to migrate across the gel towards the positive electrode. Depending on their size, each protein will move differently through the gel matrix. Short proteins will move easily fit through the pores in the gel, while the larger ones will have more difficulties. After a set amount of the time, the protein will have differentially migrate based on the sizes. Smaller proteins will have traveled further down the gel, while larger ones will have remained closer to the point of origin. The proteins may therefore be separated roughly according to the size. However, certain glycoprotein behaves anonymously on SDS gel. Following electrophoresis, gel may stained, allowing visualization of separate proteins or process further. After staining, different proteins will appear at a distinct band within the gel. It is common to run molecular weight size marker of known molecular weight in the separate lane in the gel in order to calibrate the gel and determine the approximate molecular mass of an unknown protein by comparing the distance traveled relative to the marker. Add enough staining solution to cover the gel. The stain for an hour or until adequately stained. Removes the staining solution and replace it with 100 ml wash solution. Swirl the wash over the gel by rocking container for several minutes, hours, and until excess stain is removed and unstained areas are completely clear. The SAS phase is usually the first choice as assay of protein purely due to the reliability and easy. In the presence of SDS and denaturing step causes the protein to be separated approximately based on size, but aberrant migration of some protein may occur. PAGE may be used as a preparative technique for purification of protein.